Hey everybody, I'm TJ Major, spotted the 6 Cup car. Had the O2 truck this weekend, and it was a very busy weekend.
You had a very busy weekend.
Very busy weekend.
What's up, Freddie Kraft, spotter for Bubba Wallace. I had Stephen Parsons in the 20 this weekend. I had a very short night on Saturday night and a long night last night. What's up, Casey?
Hey, Casey Boat here, and I think we are joined by a special guest since Brett decided not to show up this week.
Yeah, literally decided. I mean, he tweeted out that he was trying to decide if he should come this week, and clearly he's not here. So I guess that's what his care level shows. Right?
Priorities are straight.
He decided not to come this week, but we have filling in for him, a buddy of mine, Chris Lambert.
What's up, everybody? I am Chris Lambert and spotter for the 11 Cup car for Denny Hamlin, and I'm doing the 24 truck this year for Raja Caruth.
Raja. How did Raja do the other night? I didn't even pay attention.
He did really well. We up and down, learning as we went, but ended up with an 11th place finish. So learned all night and getting better.
I know one of your guys is a complete headache. You already mentioned him. What does Raja like to work with? I see, we talk about it all the time. Raja is on the roof as much as we are, essentially. Like, if he's not on the racetrack half the time, he's on the roof with us. We'll ask 1,000 questions during the race he'll be talking to you, me, Herm, whoever he can get his hands on, just to learn as much as he can. And I think he's a very talented race car driver, obviously, but just to see the work ethic he has to learn and get better. But what's it like just working directly with him?
It's a lot. He keeps me on my toes, texts me at 1 or 2 in the morning when he's got stuff going on or watching film. But it's been fun. He works hard at it. He wants to learn. He doesn't ask what I call dumb questions, because any question's a good question. But it's been good. He has a lot to learn. This is only his 3rd year racing in a full-time car, full-size car. But he's good. He's got a lot of talent and just got to figure out how to get his racecraft down.
Was he in the truck yesterday when they were packing the track?
He was.
He spun out,
spotting for him?
It's funny because I didn't know we were doing that, and I told Sacco when I got to the roof, I said, I need to put a radio on that way I can send him an invoice and tell him that I was on the roof for it. So
at one point, I think he needed you because I saw him backwards down in turn 1 and 2.
Yeah,
well, twice.
Twice. I didn't watch the whole
Just
thing.
making sure the track was good.
You had an eventful night last night.
Backwards at least twice. Maybe more. It might have been 3. I don't remember. It was at least twice. So luckily, I mean, somehow the car is like in one piece, like doesn't have any damage on it.
Mine's not.
Yours is not.
Well, that's because you, like when I saw you having some trouble, you were normally wedged into the fence or scraping the wall. I'm not sure we ran the high side enough to hit the wall. So that's it's if like you can tell the guys that are dirt guys, and even the dirt guys get into it a lot, but when our guys that don't run dirt and haven't run it a lot in the past, when they try to do things that comes natural to the dirt guys, it's not doesn't always work out that well. We went in there on the high side one time, and we weren't really on the high side. We were almost there, but it was where it was slick. And as soon as he pitched it in the corner, I was like, "That's going to be slick, right? Oh, hold the both."
Yeah. Yeah, you could see if you missed it by a foot. It was.
We missed it by like 5. That
yeah, but I'm just saying, like, even if you just a little bit, if you were instead of being in the lighter brown dirt versus the darker slicked off section, it was a half a second lap time. It was
big difference,
a huge difference, and that was where the difference to me. You could see the guys, and why we saw 6 quote unquote dirt guys finish in the top 6 was there was a very thin cushion up top, and they could just run it better than everybody else. We had to be kind of committed to the bottom pretty much all night, middle to the bottom, because we just couldn't make the same speed that they could up there, whether it was car or Bubba or whatnot. But, we were kind of committed to one lane, and they could just go up there and find time and kind of drive around you if they needed to. But, yeah, we had a spin early. Bubba used his mulligan up on Master Sunday pretty early in that one. But luckily, we rebounded, came back finally, a somewhat clean race after that.
I was in that one too.
Logano, as easy as Logano's night was on Saturday night, like he didn't have to he didn't break a sweat the next day. he had every wreck. And I kept looking at Coleman and laughing because obviously we spun out. We were 90% of the way around and kind of dragged him with us. Yeah. And that was his first wreck. And then right after that, I think it was the 51 spun out in front of him and he was in the fence again. And then I think it was the 99 spun out in front of him and that was the end of his day. And I just looked at Coleman every time. I was like, I guess he used up all of his luck last night because he didn't do anything on Saturday night. He just out
That's
there
what it was
around.
like, though. I don't think you were ever back that far.
I got it back to about 15, 17.
He was back there a little bit. Like, there, and at times, and I know we're going to talk about it, but we would get some track position and we would get in front of like the back. You know what I mean? Like we made our way through that, but then there would be a wreck in front of us and it would be right in front of us and we'd have to lift and barely miss it. Well, the guys behind us weren't lifting.
Keep digging.
And we'd lose 4 spots just like
caution.
that. Yeah, and we would lose 4 spots. And then it'd take us another run to get them back. We did that probably 3-4 times. So it was tough. Like it was tough sledding back there, literally sledding.
Speaking of that truck race, I did try to get the winning spotter of that truck race to come join us today, Blaney. He had some other stuff. First, he was going to get back late, and I know he's not much of a morning person to begin with, probably. So
he's got
some meetings at 11. He said he'll come on here eventually. We just got to work the timing out. But we talk about on here all the time, like it's easy to spot for fast race cars. I think all he said all night was restarts on you, and then like that was pretty much the rest of the day. That's all he had to do the rest of the night.
Joey and like you said, Joey didn't even break a sweat. All he did was lift at the flag stand and roll around the bottom, and he's good at it. He didn't overdrive. He didn't. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, the truck race, I think probably suffered a little bit from the racetrack had a lot of laps on it. You know, you do a couple hot lap sessions, you do 4 heats for each series at 15 laps each, then you do a 150 lap feature. The track was kind of worn out and I shouldn't say worn out, but you know, it was slicked off and it was hard to pass. And like you saw that, I think it was the first time in history that in this stage history that the top 3 were the same for every stage and finish. So obviously that tells you right there, wasn't a great race. There was not a lot of passing, a lot of cautions. We got wrecked early, just kind of Stefan had nowhere to go. Somebody spun from the top and we slid into it. But it was an interesting race. I thought the Cup race was pretty good. You know, I for what it is, I thought it was a decent race up front. The guys, you could tell, like I said earlier, the dirt guys kind of showed out a little bit, and they were the guys that put on a show up front. The rest of us were kind of all 3 wide fighting for our lives, mid-pack and back. But race-wise, I thought it was pretty good.
If we were running 10th, we probably could have ran 10th. There's the dirt guys, and then the rest of us.
We couldn't.
Well, you got up there a couple times.
We got track position, staying out, restarted 7th, went to 9th, went to 12th, and spun out.
Well, that's because Denny would every time I look at Denny, he'd always just try to sling it around the high side, and every time he tried to get up top, he'd run a few good laps, and it was like, now I'm going to kill the right side again.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. It was a long night, but I thought the race overall was really good compared to the past years, especially watching the quote unquote dirt guys get up there and just rip the lip. I mean, it was fun to watch.
Yeah, the first year I thought was pretty bad. You know, the first year kind of ran like a concrete race eventually. Like everything kind of just went back to normal.
That's what
track
my guy
was
needed.
in really good shape.
Yeah.
I thought the track, it had one rut, but
and I thought the rut was helping people. You know, it kind of helped us. It looked like it kept moisture in that middle lane a little bit.
We were using the rut.
And yeah,
we needed that
I
rut.
saw Bubba like we were talking about under yellow one time. Booty's like, there's a huge rut over here in 3 and 4. And then eventually I'm like, you're gonna have to drive through the rut because there's the only place where there's any moisture in 3 and 4 right now. But you know, this last year the race was decent, but it kind of got aided by all the cautions. All the rain kind of kept moisture in the racetrack for a majority of it. And last night they had the track pretty good. I mean, it slicked off to where it was kind of bottom or very top. You know, but that's how. I mean, if you're gonna have a 250 lap dirt race, there's really none of those in the country. So eventually that's gonna happen. But aside from that, what else happened in Bristol? Anything exciting? I can't remember.
I mean,
I have to go back to my notes.
It's a pretty quiet weekend. I thought they did a good job with the track. And, you know, starting off with Friday, calling that day really early was, you know, big props to NASCAR for, you know, calling that early. And I mean, it was pretty, I don't know when you were taking off, but when we were supposed to be taking off, it was really rough here.
Yeah, I hadn't even left the house yet when I got the email, so it was.
Yeah, Herm was halfway to the airport, so
that's a long ride.
Yeah, he turned around and
halfway. He was 3 minutes in.
He went back to the.
Oh no, he's in
Statesville.
Right.
Yeah,
so.
and he got to go to his favorite breakfast spot that morning, which he probably doesn't get up early enough to do most of the time. So that was probably a positive for him. But sorry, Herm.
There's been a lot of conversation. Obviously, they haven't made an announcement as to whether or not Bristol will be back on dirt next year. What do you guys think?
I think it was very telling yesterday. Normally, they announced ticket sales for the next year on the day of their dirt race, and I noticed yesterday that there was no announcement for ticket sales.
Yeah, the year before as well.
Yeah, so I'm tending to believe that was probably the last one. It's hard because obviously they've found a little niche. We'll see what the TV ratings are. Last year they were pretty good for that Sunday night race. I'm going to assume they're probably going to be fairly good this year because it was on Bain Fox again.
Well, they should be because we're not competing against anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
The Masters
but
ended
if
before.
the problem is I feel like the Easter date moves around a lot. And now you're going to have to chase it. If you're going to commit to running Bristol on Easter, Easter night, dirt race, whatever you want to call it, like next year, Easter's on, I think, March 31st. So that's another week earlier in the schedule, I assume, that we'll have to alter the schedule to get Bristol if you're going to continue to do that. So I don't know how that would work logistically with the schedule, but I think it's kind of run its course. We'll talk about it later with some of the Dirt Guys comments, but it just seems to me like there wasn't many people there last night. I felt like
Not at all.
Yeah, there's no campers. That's one of the biggest things, and I hate to give Brett credit for anything, but he did tweet one of the easiest ways to tell what the crowd's going to look like when you get there for the weekend is what the camping lots look like.
Yeah,
and the one on the hill behind the racetrack is usually
that's one we always
full
look at. Yeah.
of campers, and there wasn't hardly any there yesterday or all weekend. So the crowd wasn't great. We'll see the TV numbers what they look like when they come out, but I feel like it's kind of run its course, and I thought that it was a pretty telling sign yesterday that they didn't put any tickets on sale.
Yeah, I kind of agree. There's so much prep into this one race with the cars. We're just not dirt cars either, and there's so much prep into these cars, and this is a point race as well, which makes it even harder for the rest of the guys. We got 5 or 6 really dirt guys that came up maybe. The rest of them don't have any experience doing it. Not this, say they should be better at it, but it's just too much of a one-off deal for me. And we're taking one of the better racetracks on the schedule, and we're putting dirt on it. If we went to if we were going to run dirt, we've always talked about running Eldora like they have and stuff like that. But I miss the old Bristol, and judging by there's so many they do a great job with the track this year, but they didn't really have any rain from Friday on, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But if you get any rain on Saturday or Sunday, it makes it really hard to get that in, and
especially with the TV window that they have to fight against.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's run its course as well.
I was shocked at how good the track was and ready Saturday when we did go. I didn't think we'd ever get on track, even though it stopped raining pretty early. I thought there's no way we're going to get the track's going to be a mud pit and we're not going to be able to do anything. But when we got there and saw how good it was, and then it started running the Packer cars, and I'm like, well,
it was already almost.
It was
ready.
ready. It was
ready.
ready.
It was almost.
It was ready.
They did it. They like the track crew.
Phenomenal job.
They did a great job. But that's you go back to that. This is Bristol in April. We fought this concrete dirt. It doesn't matter. It rains every time we go there.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you don't know what to expect. We know that if it rains at Bristol and it stops raining, they can have the track dry in 45 minutes to an hour.
Yep.
Now, if you get one good shower on that, we don't know how long it's going to take to work that track back in.
I heard 2 hours after a really hard rain. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't.
At least.
Listen, they'll know because they had it ready to go Saturday. But I don't know. It's just I hated it from the beginning, and I hate it now. That we're giving up a legit short track to run dirt. If you want to give Bristol back both its dates and take this dirt race somewhere else in place of a Coda or one of the road courses, be my guest. But I don't think we need to lose a short track race to go run dirt.
But do you think, knowing that obviously ticket sales weren't great, campgrounds are empty, do you think that's an Easter thing, or do you think the fact that it's a dirt race?
I think both. Listen, let's not kid ourselves. The spring Bristol race wasn't selling anything out, when it was on concrete or dirt. I think if you switch back to concrete for a couple years, you're going to get great crowds because it's going to be the people, look, we told, look at the crowd now because you switched back. But it's going to, in 3 or 4 years, it's going to look like it did last night probably. Easter certainly doesn't help. Running on Easter, people, I know you run at night. They do have a lot of good events for the kids. They had a big fellowship celebration with Tim Tebow that I think everybody attended for free. So they do a lot to make it a family-friendly event, but it's still Easter Sunday. Normally if you're going to go to the racetrack, you're going to want to spend most of the day there. So now you're giving up, whether it's going to church or whatever you normally would do with your family in the morning. So obviously Easter does not help your cause for attendance. I think your TV numbers are going to be a lot better because majority of people are at home with their families celebrating Easter. Now it's kind of like you see on, Thanksgiving with football. People are sitting home eating Thanksgiving dinner. Now what do? You put the football game on. So, the TV numbers are great, but obviously, the fan attendance was lacking for sure.
What'd y'all think of the choose drone?
I think it was pretty stupid.
Really? Why?
I don't know what. I hate saying that because I don't know. I always say on here you shouldn't call something out if you don't have an alternative. There's a couple simple alternatives, but I don't know how well they would have worked. But
the cone.
Yes, a cone would have been especially if we're choosing on 2 to go. Now the field was a little closer to the cone. I specifically looked last night to see where we were, where the leaders were versus where the last guy chose. And they were probably in the 3, close to the center of 3 and 4. So it may have been a little tricky to get out there and get the cone.
Yes.
But they also can tie a string to it like they do at every dirt track in the country.
You can't tie it. They don't choose like that with them.
I know. I'm not saying that's how they do it. I'm just saying that they're tracks that tie strings and drag the thing off the track.
The drone was great because everyone chose way early.
Could you hit the drone?
No.
So what if somebody changed their mind late?
When you got to the drone?
But that's what I'm saying. Everybody made it completely obvious way beforehand where they were going.
But what if they didn't? What if somebody didn't? What if somebody gets to the cone and drives underneath it?
So are you going to light the cone up? Because where we were, Denny's vision is an issue, period.
Yes, you could light it up. You can't put lights on
He couldn't see the drone flying above him if it wasn't lit. I said, just see if you can see the drone. He's like,
I don't have a problem with fly the drone above the cone if you want to. But there's no penalty for changing lanes last second. We have a box at these other races for a reason. There was no box last night.
Everyone was spread out enough. I don't think it was an issue. If you chose,
I'm not saying we had an issue last night.
Underneath the drone, I'm just going to adjust off you anyway. If I'm right behind you, I'm going to know my number anyway.
I know, but I'm just saying there was no penalty last night. We have this rule in place every week, and there's a penalty. There was no penalty last night. You could change lane. You could obviously.
I didn't see anybody change lanes.
No, I'm not saying anybody did, but I'm saying it could happen. What's the penalty for?
Well, somebody could also go green on the 1 to go too and take off and lap the field.
And there's a penalty in place for that.
Well, there's a penalty in place for switching lanes too.
But nobody. There's no way. There's no.
Oh, we don't know yet.
We got shoved bottom of 3 before start finish by the 9.
I actually saw that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying, but if somebody did it in the middle 1 and 2, they've called that. But I didn't see it. They've called that before when people switch lanes. Yeah. And right when they first started doing it, somebody tried it.
I just feel like there has to be something on the racetrack. Fly the cone low or fly the damn drone lower. What do you there has to be some kind of penalty of you can't switch lanes or can't choose lane.
Why don't we hang a pool noodle from the bottom of the drone? If you hit the noodle,
that's fine. I'm good with that. Okay, anything because you could literally affect the way somebody. If you wait long enough, nobody did it, and I'll credit nobody for doing it.
Oh wait, you mean the 78 they would choose? Because you never deal with this. He would choose. And then he would fall out on the back.
But not even that. But what if I'm following somebody and we have a specific count? I'm going to go off of 7. So this guy's here, top lane. Now, very last second, he cuts across the drone and that throws our entire count off. He's all right. You've come on. You look like you're committed to the top
before you get there. This guy goes
counting,
top or bottom.
But I'm just saying, if this guy's here and we have a designated spot on the racetrack at all these other ovals, if you drive across the box, no good. Nobody did it last night, but that doesn't mean somebody could do it here, and you drive across underneath the cone. Now you throws your count off.
Sounds like you better change your mind to the last second.
I'm just saying there needs to be something on the racetrack that is a designated spot.
How about we just don't run dirt?
How about we don't run dirt is a very good point. This is probably all a mute point because it sounds like we're not going back there. But
I thought the drone was cool and it did its job. There wasn't.
I thought it was fun for the fans. I couldn't
TV
see
coverage
it.
What was your
pretty
number?
Cool.
What was your number most of the time when you were counting? What were you 6 or 7?
6 or 7.
Dude, I was 13 to 17 most of the time. So
I was 12 to 14 most of the night.
Yeah, and we were the high teens a lot. Yeah. So you're worried about 5 or 6. You try coming back there and counting.
Jesse Little said he told NASCAR.com that drivers have been told not to put NASCAR in a position where a call for the choose drone has to be made. So
I thought they did a good job with it.
And listen, the drivers did a good job last night, but I still stand by. There should be something on the track that is a designated spot that you can't hit. Now,
There's a drone.
Well, my guy would have hit it. My guy would have hit it. So
your guy
he
was
hit
trying to
everything else.
hit. He hit everything.
I mean,
else.
from my standpoint, I see tons of sponsorship opportunities for this drone.
That's what I'm saying.
So
Or
I thought the
cone.
coverage looked great. I'm for it. I think you should do it at every track, Freddie.
It
What
was
do you
easy
think?
to see. I'll tell you that. It was nice.
Yeah, I mean, why not do that everywhere?
When you light it up.
Because there's plenty of racetracks where the drivers, glare or whatnot that they say
Yeah.
they can't see it. Like, why not fly that thing out there every week? Why not?
Yeah, I thought it looked good.
We just want to take a moment of silence on here this week in memory of Justin Owen. Unfortunately, Justin lost his life in a wreck at Lawrenceburg in qualifying this week. So I just want to say, prayers to his family, send our condolences out to them. Anytime we lose a member of our racing family, it never gets any easier. So another unfortunate circumstance here, but just prayers out to Justin's family, and he will be missed.
All right, well, let's head into spot on, spot off. First topic, NASCAR had a regularly scheduled meeting last week with team owners, and the entirety of the team owners boycotted the meeting. Many reports are saying the boycott is because teams are unhappy with the state of discussions surrounding the way television revenue will be divided up in future seasons. Spot on, spot off, TJ.
I don't know enough about it. I didn't know this had even happened.
Just check Twitter.
But we've heard in the past that they weren't happy already. There was some discussions about they just weren't happy with the way it was being divided up, and I'm guessing that's just obviously it's carrying over to here, and this is where we need Brett. So
We never need Brett.
well, yeah, that's a good point. This is where Brett usually takes over. And
Can we cut that part out? The need part?
Listening to some of the quotes that came out of this, it sounded like the teams met separately from NASCAR, and they were pretty much worried. One thing about it's coming down to, it seems like, worrying about the charter system. Whether the teams obviously want to make these charters permanent and lock in, like, we've got these charters for as long as we want. Obviously, right now, NASCAR can revoke a charter based on performance. I think some team owners are trying to just say, listen, this is the foundation of everything we've built it on, and this is our whole business model right here is these charters. So, I think Curtis Polk had a great quote. He said, if they gave you the moon, but they're able to take it away from you periodically, what's the point of having the moon? It seems like the teams kind of had an idea that this was going to be a bad idea to have this meeting, because all the other team owners, because what happens is they have a team owner meeting, but that RTA, I guess it is, where all teams are represented. And then they have a little council, which is like Dave Alpern, I know Curtis Polk, I think Steve Newmark, or they go and represent the team's position to NASCAR. So them guys, it sounded like, went to NASCAR and was like, listen, if we have this meeting with all the teams, they're only going to want to talk about one thing. We're not going to get anything done. So why don't we postpone this? Well, NASCAR went ahead and decided to have the meeting, and they're like, okay, well, then we just won't show up. Like, that's fine. But it just sounds like that's kind of what it's based off of. The teams, obviously the TV deal's playing into this. So they're trying to firm their position up. And I think it's great anytime they kind of take a little bit of a stand against, big NASCAR. But I think this kind of got a little blown out of proportion. Just to sound to me like the teams didn't want to have one thing dominate their conversations with NASCAR, and NASCAR wasn't willing to budge on the meeting. But yeah, it seems to me like they want this stuff to be permanent. NASCAR almost sounds, I've heard rumors where NASCAR wants to get rid of the charters or strongly alter the way they're, handed out. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Lambert, spot on, spot off.
Yeah, I'm like TJ. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion either way, but like Freddie said, from what I understand, it was more about the charter system, and I guess the contract runs out in 24, just like the TV contract does. So it could obviously go away, and you got guys like 2311 with Denny and Kaulig Racing's another one that has spent big money in the last couple of years buying these charters to have some kind of worth if something was to go awry with the TV contract and teams going away. But it takes all of us, you know what I mean? It takes the teams, it takes the drivers, it takes NASCAR, it takes the tracks. So I feel like that whatever we can do to make the entire industry better is what we need to do.
Yeah, you see, like I've heard the Business of Motorsports podcast that Kelly's been doing. It's the first one she did with Loletta. They're talking about charter prices, and it's $35 million. The numbers that are getting thrown around. You're like, okay, wow. I think the highest anybody's paid for one is about 13 if you don't count everything Justin Marks bought on top of the charter. So even at that point, if Denny or whoever it was spends $13 million on a charter, and then they decide, you know what, we don't need these charters anymore because some other people want to come in, that's not fair. I don't think to them guys unless they're equally compensated for whatever they laid out for them charters. So it'd be interesting. Obviously, the teams are going to dig in on these. They want these charters permanent. I've got this. You can't take it away from me. And they'll only build value as the TV contract goes up because that's what everybody's the charter prices are getting raised on speculation of what this new TV contract is. It's kind of like the stock market. Right now it's worth this, but I'm thinking in 2 years it's going to be worth this. So I want you to pay this now. So it's just, the valuation right now is really high, but these guys, they want to lock this in and these teams want to probably sell their charters before that new contract comes out and exactly what you're getting. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But the teams are clearly digging in on what they feel is right, and NASCAR is kind of digging in on what they feel. And I don't see any kind of lockout or anything like that coming. But I think they'll figure it out here eventually. But obviously, both sides are pretty strongly.
Yeah, I think I was wrong because I didn't realize, or I assumed, I should say, that when Denny paid $13 million for the charter, that NASCAR got a percentage of that, right? Because they hold the value of it, right? So, but I'm assuming if Jim France is totally against the charter system and doesn't want it to be here, maybe NASCAR is not getting a percentage. But there again, I just feel like the teams need something. If you want new owners to come in, they need something that they can hold on to that has value other than the equipment and the parts and pieces.
Is it fair, TJ? I mean, it's hard because you've got this thing
always
now.
fair.
If you've got this thing now that's worth, let's call it $20 million. If it's 35 is a little crazy. If somebody paid 13, you meet in the middle, you're somewhere in the 20s maybe. Is it fair to Rick Ware Racing that who's put money in, he's been in the charter game forever. One of his cars has been the bottom performing one, and their rule is if you're the lowest performing guy for 3 years, is it fair to just take his $20 million charter away because he's not performing well?
I don't agree. I don't think. I mean, I don't think that's right.
Should it be changed to maybe they're forced to sell it?
I think yes, and I don't know. I'd have to get into reading
But who buys
what
it?
it looks
Does NASCAR
like.
buy it?
Yeah,
That's
Well,
question.
but that was my
And
other
then resell
question.
it?
So,
Right.
Freddie, you
Yeah, I don't
mentioned, when you look at a sponsorship and you look at the valuation, I do this every day. Right now, because they don't know what this TV deal is going to be, the valuation of a charter is extremely high. So there are people out there who can afford it, trying to purchase one. Is this the right time for like a Rick Ware Racing to want to sell it before they figure out what exactly this TV deal ends up being? Do you see this happening next year?
I think if you want the most money for your charter, you have to sell it before the new TV deal comes out.
Right.
Because after that, there's no more speculation. You know what you're getting out of that TV contract. You know what it's worth. Now, it may be more or less money. But you're taking a bigger risk if it comes out and you're getting the same cut. Now your charter value goes down. So I think you're going to get the most bang for your buck if you sell it before the TV contract is agreed upon. But you also have to know that if you're buying it, Dale for one. If everybody, there's no secret. Dale's out there, in the charter market. Dale's not going to buy a charter until he knows that charter deal is permanent. Like, why would Dale buy a charter now that for something that could go away in 2024? So, and maybe it's to Dale's best interest that it does go away in 2024 because then he doesn't have to spend this money to get in. Because we know the car, the cost of the cars and the upstart is less than it had been in years past. So if he can just go ahead and buy some kit cars and put together and go cup racing without having to worry about buying a charter, that's way better interest for him. But it's I think if you're going to get the most bang for your buck, it's right now or between, maybe early next year. But I think that I go back and forth because you want to see if we're going to have 36 charters, you want that to be the best 36 teams in the country. But it's at the same time, it's hard for me to agree with Rick Ware, who's poured time and effort into and their cars are better. They're running better. JJ Yaley ran third in the heat race the other night, from last. So it's not like their cars are awful. They have an alliance with Roush Racing or Keslau, what the hell ever your name is, Keselowski, Roush, Fenway, whatever. I just seen Rick Ware brought Tommy Baldwin back in to be a competition director. He's kind of a liaison between Roush and Rick Ware. So they're making an effort to getting better. And now, like, if they just happen to be one of the low cars, you're just going to pull the rug out from underneath them and tell them, hey, sorry, we're taking your charter away.
Yep.
So I don't think that's fair, but, you still want to see the best 36 cars on the racetrack.
Next topic, the National Motorsports Appeals Panel on Wednesday reduced Kaulig Racing's 100-point L2 penalty for non-standard aero parts to just 75 points.
Just 75.
While keeping the original $100,000 fine. Denny Hamlin's penalty was also upheld to the original penalty given by NASCAR. Lambert, spot on, spot off, because I want to know all about what you think about Denny's penalty.
What do you think?
Denny is going to listen to this too.
He might even call in here in a minute.
Yeah, I don't think Denny cares what I think about it. We've talked about it amongst our 11 team, and it's just hard for me to understand the process, right? I don't know. I mean, obviously his podcast last Friday that came out, he was in depth with how things went down, but understanding how Hendrick presented their case versus how Kaulig, like I was, and Freddie, I text Freddie, I'm like, there shouldn't even be a Kaulig appeal process right now because you've set the standard with what we did with Hendrick, right? That's the way I approached it. Now, obviously, I know there's legal jargon and everything in the rule book and words and words. But it's which words can get you in trouble. So I'm gonna watch what I say. But it hit the 11 team pretty hard. I mean, you think about we gave basically over a whole race of points away, which it's driver points, so it doesn't affect us in the owner stuff. But it was tough to see and. I just don't know where the line in the sand is for what Ryan Preece did last night. Is that same thing that Denny did with what he said on the radio versus what he actually did? So I don't know. It's tough to understand where it is. I am spot off for the whole process as a whole until we can get things out and see and understand better and have a better understanding of actually what took place versus what we assumed took place.
Freddie, spot on, spot off.
Yeah, like when Lambert texted me about the Kaulig deal, and he's like, "Why are they even going to have an appeal?" And I said, "Because I said there might be different outcomes. Like this was a week before, or whatever." I said because you don't know. We keep hearing Dale on his podcast saying Hendrick had the receipts. And maybe Kaulig didn't have the receipts. Maybe Kaulig wasn't afforded to the receipts. Hypothetically speaking,
something didn't add up. Though.
Yeah. Oh no. But hypothetically speaking, if Chevy sends out a memo to their top 3 teams, which are Hendrick, RCR, Trackhouse. Hendrick obviously has affiliates that, count on them. Kaulig is an affiliate or has an alliance with RCR. So if they get a memo saying, listen, we know these things aren't right. You can do something to them. Don't go too far, whatever. And that's not directly related, directly sent to Kaulig. Well, now Hendrick might have those receipts, but Kaulig doesn't because they weren't afforded those receipts. You know what I mean? So listen, we heard that this was obviously some kind of manufacturing issue that was wrong with the Chevy louvers, but because it's very simple. Kaulig had something wrong with their louver. One of the 4 louvers that they had at the racetrack. In my mind, that goes to show you, yes, there was something manufactured wrong. Something didn't fit right. They had 1 of 4 that was wrong. Hendrick had 8 of 8 that were wrong. And I think that goes to lend towards, okay, they manipulated, they modified these louvers in a way that I'm sure anytime any crew chief, car chief, whatever you want to say, modifies anything, I promise you it is not in the interest. It's not to make it any worse.
It's not to make it fit.
Yeah, it's not to make it fit. It's not to. It's going to be improved performance somewhere. So I don't understand the panel. The thing that blew my mind about the Hendrick appeal was how could you be? I saw like Jordan Bianchi had a great article, and I was a little intoxicated last week, so we might even talk about this last week, and I don't remember. But we
talked about a lot last week.
He had a great article going through the pits, talking to 9 anonymous crew chiefs.
We did talk about that.
And he said, the crew chief said you can't be half pregnant. Like it's either one or the other. So, and then Kaulig comes out, and it's kind of a similar situation where, okay, you cheated, but maybe not terribly. So we're going to give you 25 of your 100 points back. Like, I don't understand it. Hopefully, when they go to the next appeal, they'll win. I don't understand how you can have a team that has 8 of 8 modified louvers essentially win their appeal, get all their points back, and one team that clearly wasn't trying to manipulate the system had 1 of 4, which you would never do. You would never just do a quarter of your stuff. But and they get basically the same penalty.
So I know NASCAR obviously is realizing that there's some discrepancy there, and they did make some tweaks to the rule book last week. But Harvick also went on to say maybe these appeals should be televised. What do you guys think?
I think that talking about Denny's podcast last week, I thought Denny did a great job with kind of painting the picture of what that room looks like. And I think that Brett has hacked me. I have gone on record as saying you can't blame NASCAR for this. When Hendrick got their points back, everybody's like, "Oh, NASCAR loves Hendrick." It's not. NASCAR has nothing to do with this. And Brett's like, "You still every time they make a rule change now, he's like, you still think they got nothing to do with it?" He's probably asked me 27 times on Twitter this week, "Do you still believe what you said?" Yes. I still believe it because NASCAR has nothing to do with this. They don't pick up the appeals panel, the overall panel. They don't pick the 3 guys that go on the panel. They have to go in there listening to Denny's podcast. Denny said NASCAR is the one in the first appeal. NASCAR is the one that has to go in there and prove their case to the panel. And then Denny gets to, defend himself. Now on this final appeal, it's flips, and Denny or Kaulig essentially this time they're going to have to prove their case, and then NASCAR is going to have to defend it. But NASCAR has nothing to do with it. And the only thing they did this week was make them rule changes about the guidelines of what the stuff the appeals committee can change. So if they are getting involved, it's for the better, because now they're saying, listen, you can't, if we give a penalty, it's either a penalty or it's not. You can maybe modify within 50 to 75 points, but you can't just go, all right, you have all your points back and, we're going to keep the fines. Like, it's either a penalty or it's not. Take it away or don't.
Yeah, I'm spot off for it. Kind of both sides. I think, like you said, you can't have 8 of them all modified and, one or the other one, and then the one that's clearly doing a lot gets all their stuff back, or not all of it, but the most important part was the points. That's all that really matters.
That's all that matters to them.
That's all that really mattered in this anyway. But, yeah, I don't know. I when I saw Harvick or somebody, I think it was Harvick that said this should be televised or streamed. Yeah. Like, it should be. Why shouldn't it be?
I thought NASCAR made one of the other changes they made. I these are the main 2 that I saw. There might have been other ones, but now they're making the appeals panel provide a summary or a disclosure of how did you come to the decision you came to, because before it was kind of just.
But I mean, even if we get that in writing, are we still going to believe it? Because if you would have gave me in writing, well, they're still getting stuff back and still getting penalized. Which one is it?
Yeah. Well, but wouldn't you want this? Wouldn't you want an explanation rather than
I want an explanation.
We just like Hendrick more. Like, that's what people are saying. They like Hendrick more.
I would have loved to have seen an explanation last week of how did you come to the decision of, all right, they cheated, but we're going to give them all their points back.
We're still going to be mad. I mean, we're going to be at the same point no matter what. Even if we read that and they're going to be like, well, they definitely did this. But they had a good case to say why they did it, so it's okay. We're gonna give them their points back. We're still gonna be at the same point.
Well, one of my questions was, so we're in Phoenix, right? We're on the West Coast. If they took the louvers from all 4 teams, what went in the car? If they didn't have anything that fit, so what did they race?
Yeah. So Chris Rice was on Race Hub the night their penalties got announced, or the appeal decision got announced, and he said that they went to them and got louvers from them.
Who's them?
From Kaulig. So Hendrick went to Kaulig and got louvers from them to run at Phoenix. I don't know if it was all 8 or if they pieced it together from other teams, but yeah, to your point, but
did they fit?
They fit. They didn't have to ultra modify them to fit that one.
For me, you're all about the gray area of the rule book. You're trying to find everything you can, and I applaud Hendrick. They've been around forever, and they're one of the best teams in the sport. Obviously, so, but to the NASCAR changes that Casey talked about, that's NASCAR going and saying we're trying to protect the integrity of our sport. You know what I mean? Because they know that the optics look bad with what happened with taking away rescinding all the points penalties and giving them their points back. So they know the optics looks bad. That tells me NASCAR is upset at what happened, obviously. So reading Twitter and seeing the fans that are hammering NASCAR that they're Hendrick lovers or whatever they may be, that's not the case.
No, it's not them.
That tells you right there, because they're like, we know this was wrong, and we're not going to give you every ability to take away the penalties that we give. We're going to make it to where you can only do so much, which I agree with.
And I think Steve O'Donnell was on Race Hub last week. Like, I know from talking to certain NASCAR executives, there's frustration because they're also getting they have to answer to these teams as to, moving forward, what can they do? What can they not do? They have to set some sort of precedent around what the future looks like as well, which you can tell NASCAR is trying to do.
And one other thing I thought, it's been going to be interesting to look at going forward is, now listen, and this is another topic of this pissed NASCAR off. They came right back the next week and quote unquote randomly selected 2 Hendrick cars to bring to the R&D center. And Bob went and put this on Twitter, I think, and I didn't know that. As far as I was concerned, I think we talked about it on here maybe last year, or it could have been the year before. That is a random selection. It's the top 5 and a random car. That was the random after the week, or they would take back to the R&D center. They came out last week and basically said, no, that's not the case. It's up to the race director's discretion. So I don't know when the series director, I should say.
They've been doing that, the series director, but back in the day before this, there was always a car that stood out in the race that ran better than it should that week, and that guy was getting.
I just always felt like it was. We knew it wasn't, but they always claimed it was random.
Yeah, it was just labeled that.
Yeah, this year they've come out and said it's not random any longer. This is just.
That's good though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
if you see a guy that's light years faster than everybody, but is this now NASCAR going? Listen. We took 100 points. You got them back. We're going to nitpick you to death until we get those 100 points back. And they got 60 of them from 2 of them already. So this could be a long season.
They should have taken 4 last week.
5 and 9 need to watch out going forward.
The thing I loved is they take the randoms are Bowman and Byron, who ran 9th and 25th.
Well, Byron got spun, right?
Yeah.
So
what if they took off 4? Then who finished 3rd at Richmond?
I don't even know.
Do you think
Because that'd have been the winner.
Do you think Hendrick will appeal this one? I think they have until tomorrow.
If I had to guess, I'd say no. And I think that there's probably some kind of agreement in place there. I don't know. I don't want to say there's any behind the scenes dirty dealings or anything, but it's probably we're going to give you an L1 penalty here. You're going to get 60 points. Do not appeal this.
Well, it's still a net 40 gain, right?
Yeah, you're still up. You're still up 40.
I'll take my 40 and go.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. It's something we heard rumors in the garage that it's something that they've been running for a long time, and now all of a sudden they found a problem with it. So and it was clearly an area of the car that you can modify, and they supposedly just went too far with it. So we'll see. Yeah. So,
but now they'll be displayed, right? So
that's the thing I don't understand. What are we displaying? We can take the greenhouse off the Kendrick cars and put them out behind the hauler.
Well, I mean,
didn't they used to do?
Obviously
They used to
you
do
can't
that,
do
right?
They're gonna. But I'm saying you're not gonna take the whole
Right,
greenhouse.
yeah,
but
exactly.
like the louvers, you could take the louvers and set them there. You know what I mean? Which I think is cool because if they do find parts and things that are modified, you pull it off and you lay it back there. That's how it used to be.
Well, there used to be whole cars sitting behind the haulers at times. You know what I mean? So
That T-Rex car.
yeah.
All right, well, starting this week, we are streaming for free on dirtvision.com and the DirtVision app. So you can believe we will absolutely have plenty of dirt topics to debate coming off of the Bristol Dirt race. And I would have to, of course, start off with Kyle Larson's comments around Ryan Preece. Spot on, spot off. After the race, he told the media, I figured we could be grown-ups and get the over it after contact with Ryan Preece that ultimately took him out of the race. I'm just reading the script, guys. Preece responded after the race by saying that the contact was not intentional and, quote, I was just trying to get all that I could. TJ, spot on, spot off.
I mean, I'm great racing. I mean, Preece kind of ran a little bit dirty. He did get run dirty, and he ran the other guy a little bit dirty. And I mean, and it's not like he just went out there and intentionally drove him up into the fence or something. It got close. There was decisions that could have been made to avoid it. it was just hard racing. The guy doing what he has to do to get the spot. So I don't think he intentionally went up there and said, I'm going to ruin Kyle Larson's day right here, end his race. I don't think he thought that. I think he wanted to put him in a bad spot or give him, I mean, what did Kyle do to him? Force him. Yeah, he put him in a bad spot. And okay, well, Priest lifted and got in the wall a little bit. And to me, Larson could have done the same thing, but he chose not to. And if you do that to a guy, most of the time when that guy comes back, that's the time that you let the guy go. And then it kind of dissolves itself from there because you know, I get into you and you run me down. I'm probably not going to mess with you. No. I'm going to give you that spot because I already messed up once. Even if it was an accident, you know what? I'm just going to give it to you now. And then from that point on, you kind of, all right, well, we're back. I'm back where I was. You kind of putting it under the table from there. So, yeah, I don't see a problem with it handling itself right there.
Lambert, spot on, spot off.
I am spot on. It's funny because obviously I didn't see it happen because I was back there swatting flies where we were, but I went back and watched it last night and it was a late clear, like Kyle said. I don't think that I found it interesting. I should say I listened to the audio and obviously Ryan's crew chief this year was Larson's at Ganassi for quite a few years, and he didn't help that match. I mean, he basically said he's good enough. That wasn't a mistake. That was intentional, and probably put it in Ryan's head and got Ryan fired up even more. And Ryan's a fiery guy, right? You know, he's a modified guy, comes from the short tracks. He's still a short track guy. We all know him pretty well, and the wreck with Larson later in the race after his comments, I don't think was. I do think it was intentional. It was a perfect modified nerf. You know what I mean? It was, here we are. I'm gonna send you if I can, and he did. So I'm spot on for guys handling on the racetrack and not doing it off the racetrack in the media.
Freddie, I want spot on, spot off, but I also want to add specifically for you. Do you think now Ryan, originally during the broadcast, they played his audio and he said like game on or whatever. Do you think now drivers are a little bit scared to admit when it was an intentional move?
I think you saw a direct result of Denny Hamlin's penalty in Ryan Priest's post-race interview.
Yep.
I just got loose. I don't know. I just got loose. I don't know what happened.
Car was broke.
I don't race dirt. I just got loose. You know, if Denny doesn't get hammered for saying what he said, Ryan's going to come out and say, listen, I raced that guy the way he raced me. He ran me in the fence. And I don't think, in Kyle's comments, I don't think Kyle realizes he was, he said in his, if you look at the whole interview, he said, I don't know what he's mad at me about. Something happened to him later. He spun out and he got in the back. He doesn't realize that he's the reason he's back there. Kyle, talking to some guys on Ryan's team, like when Kyle ran them in the fence, it bent their toe link. And then eventually it broke a bolt in the toe link, and that's why Ryan spun. So Kyle was the direct result of why Ryan's night was ruined. And I don't think Kyle realized that when Ryan got back to him. And Ryan didn't do anything more than what Kyle did to Ryan. And the reason why Kyle wrecked was Kyle. Kyle started chasing Ryan down the racetrack and ran in the side of him and spun himself out. So, Ryan gave back what he got and ran him in the fence off of 4. And, he just kind of, he didn't like out and out right turn and door him. He just ran him up the racetrack until they were both kind of up against the wall. And then Ryan moved down and gave him room, and Kyle started chasing him, and Kyle bounced off him.
He gave him more room. He gave him enough room. Yeah. It was tight, but he didn't
and Ryan was doing it intentionally. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Ryan knows what the hell he's doing. He's a very good race car driver. And to Lambert's point, we and Ryan have raced against each other for years, since he's 13, 14 years old. And I spotted for different people. I spotted for Ryan multiple times in modified races. And he has a joke that, a lot of the Long Island guys are pretty rough, and he calls it the Long Island slide job. And it's basically, it's not really a slide job. You just go in the corner and door slam the guy and knock him out of the way. And that's what he was doing. That was a typical Long Island slide job. And Ryan is, like, to Lambert's point, he knows how to do it just as good as anybody in that modified deal. But like, the thing that bothers me is that post-race interview, like, we're not seeing these drivers be honest because they're afraid of what Denny got. And Ryan would have normally, I honestly think, would have been like, I raced Kyle like Kyle raced me. He ran me in the fence. I ran him in the fence. We're even. He wrecked himself trying to wreck me. So, but he can't say that because, God forbid, you intent, you admit any kind of intentional maneuver, they could hammer you with $50,000 and take 25 points away from you.
So what is it? What kind of thought process brings a guy to say, I thought we could just get over it?
Well, I think that he doesn't realize. He thinks that he just ran him in the wall a little bit, and that was the end of it.
You're saying Kyle didn't know that.
I think Kyle doesn't realize he messed Ryan's car up, and that's why Ryan spun out. I think that. And to your point, listening to that audio, Ryan had the little devil on his shoulder.
Oh,
he was. I don't know that
Chad Johnston was.
He was revving the fire, and I don't know if there's some deep-seated stuff there with him and Larson that went on when they were working together, but he was stoking the fire. If Ryan Preece was at a 3 mad, by the time Chad got done with him, he was about a 10, and he was looking for blood at that point.
Race how you raced.
That's it, and I think that's the general code. But you can't even.
Great.
And I think what would be wrong with that if Ryan came out after the race and said, "Listen, Larson ran me in defense. I ran him in defense. Like that's it. Like that's the end of it."
Potential penalty now.
Yeah, but that's a penalty now.
Right.
Like you can't. That's the problem with that penalty to Denny. You're not getting any honesty out of these drivers anymore because they're afraid of what they can say.
Continuing on the topic of Kyle Larson, Kyle said over the weekend, we don't need to be racing on dirt, which led to other drivers, including dirt track ace Jonathan Davenport, to say, it's cool, it's a novelty, but it's not the real thing. Spot on, spot off. Freddie.
We better all be unanimous on this.
I mean, it's spot on for what they're saying.
Yeah.
They're honest. These guys are in their discipline. They're two of the best in the world at what they do. Kyle. I mean, he's across anything, any kind of discipline. Whether he gets in a late model, a sprint car, a midget, whatever it is, he's the guy to beat that night. Davenport won $2.5 million last year, super late model racing.
What night was that dirt late model race?
Thursday night.
That was one of the best races that I've ever watched, and it was. I mean, I don't know how that was a. I mean, it was one of the best races I've seen.
It was these two guys.
Yeah, these two guys, and they are racing like unbelievable, man. At every corner, what's going to happen down here? What's going to happen in this corner? And it was clean. It was fun. There was lap cars in there. It was an awesome race. So, and you just can't do that in our cars.
No,
not like that. You can't do it like that.
If you wanted, there's ways to get there, but we're never going to do it. I mean, you'd have to take the windshield out of the car to prep the track correctly, and the figure out a way to get air in there because all we would do would clog the grill. Like our cars are just not meant to be on dirt, and that's what I thought it was very telling. Because a lot of people are of the opinion of this just doesn't work because it's at Bristol. If you take it to Eldora, it'll be great. If you take it to Knoxville, it'll be fun. They asked Kyle point blank, what dirt race would you like to see this? Okay, we get it. You don't like Bristol. What dirt track do you want to see him go to? He said, none.
Yeah.
None. We don't belong on dirt.
Yeah.
Like that. Not with these cars.
Lambert, spot on, spot off.
I'm spot on. Just I've known Davenport for probably 15 years or so, back when Tony was doing the Prelude to the Dream. And he was driving a lower tier car back then in the late model stuff, but you could still see the talent was there. He was fast. He just had issues breaking or something here, but he actually helped Casey Kane and Brian Vickers with the late model stuff they were doing back then. So he was around for probably a week and a half, 2 weeks, for 2 or 3 years there, and obviously a lot of respect for what he does. The whole dirt community as a whole. I'm a dirt fan, so I'm spot on. I thought the race last night for our cars was probably the best that you'll ever see, just situational, and the dirt guys being able to get up there and the race for the lead was phenomenal all night long. 2 or 3 guys running the same line, just waiting on somebody to slip. But I do feel like that it's a novelty, and obviously I didn't have a whole lot of fun myself, so if it went away, I would be perfectly okay with that, as long as it's not another road course.
Yes, God forbid.
Spot on, spot off. NASCAR threw the caution in the closing laps after Kyle Busch spun on the apron, but did not throw the yellow for Blaney's spin in front of the field on a late race restart. TJ, spot on, spot off.
Yeah, I'm spot off. There was the tone was set pretty early that if there was a single car spin, they were going to get going. You let it keep racing. We got past. We probably lost close to 10 spots last night because guys spun out in front of us and we had to lift, and others around us did not lift. And I got to the point where I said, there's one spinner in front of you, but stay in it. We got to keep going. And I don't want to do that. So, but I didn't understand the 8 and the 5 were both out of harm's way more than some of the others. And the caution, we get a caution for those ones, but yet we got a guy sitting in the middle of the track, and we're waiting to throw the caution for him. So I didn't, I don't know. I just didn't. It was tough, man. It got to the point where I literally was saying, got to spin in front of you, but keep going until I tell you, keep going. And I don't want to send my guy into that, because what if that guy slides on the track a little bit further and my guy's not braking?
Right.
I don't, I'm so used to, one spin in front of you, backing down, back. Like, you're so used to getting your guy slowed up to minimize any damage to the car, safety, everything. And now it was like, kind of like, one spinning, but keep going. I don't know. Like, so I'm kind of spot off for it.
Lambert, spot on, spot off.
I'm definitely spot off. Even last week or the week before at Richmond, when the 45 spun off of turn 2, it was forever before the caution was thrown. And of course, Radioactive has me on there basically saying, spin off of 2, still green, what the f? And of course, my wife's like, you got to watch what you say on the radio. So then, of course, last night, it's the same thing. Yeah, you had several spins, and you didn't know. You learned early on what was going to be a caution and what wasn't. But if I'm the guy that spins and I know there's not a caution, what am I going to do? I'm going to fire up, spin around as fast as I can, no matter what's coming, to get rolling again so I don't lose a lap. So it put a lot of guys in some bad spots, and you saw 2 or 3 cars spin all over the racetrack and no caution. So if you're going to throw it, throw it. If you're not, don't. Just be consistent so we know what to expect, because at the end of the day, the spotter position, we're safety. That's our main job, not just for my guy, but I want everybody to go home safe to their families. So when you're having guys spin out and you're saying stay in the gas and not knowing what's going to happen the next corner with guys, so it's a scary thing.
I'm gonna play. I'm gonna sound like TJ. I think they did a pretty good job. There was 2 instances. TJ named both of them that I thought they threw yellows when it didn't need to be yellows. The 8 and the 5. The 8 was on the apron, nobody near him, rolling the pit road. It looked like.
Yeah, he got right up pit road.
Yellow came out for some reason there. Didn't understand that one. That was a race altering. You talk about race manipulation. There's one there where we're throwing a caution for no reason with 10 to go. The 5, they said it, like you guys already said, they set a precedent early. If it was a single car spin and that guy looked like he was going to keep going, they're going to keep going. And thank God they did, because if not, that race would have had 5, 6, 7 more cautions and would have took another hour to run. But, and that's easy for me to say because I was in front of most of them. You guys weren't. I think that the slower speeds kind of lend themselves to be a little more lenient there. Like, you're not running, whatever we would normally run there, 14-second laps. So, obviously you don't want to see anybody make contact and get hurt.
But you don't have control. That's my issue.
I know.
When you slide into the corner and they're broadside, you can't.
And I think that
you can't change lanes.
That's kind of what I'm getting at with the speeds. Like, if you hit them, you're not hitting them. I mean, you're going to wreck. You hit, I forget who it was that spun off of 4 there, and you got collected, and that's what knocked your nose off of it. But, I mean, you continued on, didn't even knock you out of the race, and that was probably like one of the harder hits I've seen all night. So, because if they threw a caution every time somebody spun, we'd still be there racing. So I thought they did a good job with trying to keep it running. I don't understand the 2 cautions for the 5 and the 8. The 5, as soon as he spun, he's on the apron, kind of out of the way. The yellow came out. But I thought that they kind of did a good job and had to keep it rolling because, like I said, if you just keep throwing the caution, you're never going to see any racing all night.
Which I was fine with. That's how we were going to go. Yeah. But it was kind of these 2 cautions then kind of counteracted everything that was done, caught up to that point.
The one thing that I didn't like, and I saw it a lot in the truck heat races, and I saw it in the race last night with, I think it was Davenport. There was sometimes where I know they were waiting to, you don't want to throw a caution, but there's a couple times where there's a guy sitting there and I'm like, okay, he's not going anywhere. Yeah. What are we waiting on now? Because you don't need the whole field bearing down on somebody that's a parked car.
And they did that at the very end. There was, I mean, was it Ross?
They were going to let it go green, I think.
They were.
The 9 was wrecked, and then Ross parked.
Well, the 9 got off the racetrack.
Yeah, he was on the apron.
Yeah, he did a really good job, but Ross couldn't turn, and it wasn't Ross. I mean, Ross hit and went right up the track, and you could tell he was trying to get out of the way, but it wasn't turning. And Well, that was going to be.
Yeah, I didn't have, like, I know everybody's going to point to that Blaney deal at the end. I didn't have an issue with them not throwing a caution there because that was kind of their MO all night. Like Blaney got turned around, did a 360, kept digging.
But why does that not get a caution in a single car on the bottom?
Listen,
does?
I think that the Blaney deal should not have been a caution, but I also think that the 8 and the 5 should not have been cautions. You know, like if like there's no reason, especially when you just hammered a guy for race manipulation. Why are we throwing a caution for a car that's on the apron, not anywhere near anybody that's clearly driving the pit road? Like he's not the 8, like the 5 I could see because he got turned around and he was kind of mid pack and he kind of got hung up on the apron for a second. But the caution came out quick there where like that I felt like quicker than most. But that 8 one just really that didn't make any sense.
They did. They were pretty consistent most of the night though, and there were other wrecks that happened that didn't get cautions. We just kind of kept it, which. It all worked out. We all kept digging. Most of the guys that I saw some cars get tore up, and those guys did a good job getting on the flat and getting out of the way instead of parking on the track.
Logano was one of them.
Yeah, a lot of guys that had damage, they actually did a really good job of getting out of the way and keeping the race flowing as well.
Let's move on to Reaction Theater.
The Bristol show. Maybe next year they'll cover the track in 3 feet of so they can have a show on just run around in the mud and just cover the world in
Oh my gosh.
What did he say?
I'm going to guess he's not a fan.
I felt like I was doing a hearing test right there.
Yeah, that was no kidding.
I failed that one too.
Did you hear that? Push the button.
I swear, NASCAR is like my kids when it comes to cautions. They never know what the hell they want. 1 minute they want this, the next minute they want that. Damn it, NASCAR, make up your mind. I'm going to have to put you in your room, turn the lights off, and get you ready for bed because I'm tired of it.
He's not wrong about like, especially that 8 caution coming out with 10 to go. Like that's just that. I mean, didn't need to happen.
What the hell is wrong with Chase Briscoe? Does he have just a knack for driving over his head and not knowing what the hell to do? He did it at Coda, had 2 teammates arguing with each other like it was an elementary school fight. Then he does it again this year for the 2nd year in a row at Bristol on dirt. And people are just like, meh, it happens. I wish you would just hurry up and blame Ross Chastain for it.
That
what happened? Somebody give me an idea.
So
I was on the
you
other
couldn't see
side
that?
of the track.
So the only way to get the bottom lane rolling, and I think he admitted to this in his post race interview, was to just kind of shove each other down the front stretch, like get going, and then Blaney,
I saw a little bit of that.
Blaney kind of opened his entry up a little bit into 1, and I don't know if that was from Chase pushing or just opened up his entry trying to get a little better run off of 2. But Chase kind of tried to fill the hole, and it looked to me like he clipped the second turtle or whatever you want to call that thing down there, the pump, and it just kind of launched him out into into Ryan. But Chase took full responsibility. He said, "This is 2 years in a row that I've done dumb stuff here because last year he cleaned Tyler out on the last lap." He kind of. I like Chase a lot. Chase is a friend of mine. I enjoy talking to Chase, but this is kind of like he dumped you guys at Indianapolis when he was getting black flagged and kind of, I don't race like that. Now this is 2 instances at the dirt track where he's kind of cleaned a leader out or clean, Ryan's on the front row on a restart in the last green, white checker there or whatever it was, a couple to go.
I mean, if you want to go back to Indy, Denny did run him off on both sides of the track.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying Denny didn't deserve to get spun out, but just say, well, you can't now. You can't say I spun the guy out. You can't say that. I'm sorry.
Throttle hung.
But
it's weird. It's sticking.
Yeah.
Did you know the backstory from last night? Did you listen to the audio?
No, I didn't listen to all their audio.
So obviously we had one plane, 20 car wins. I sat there forever.
I know I beat you home.
You beat me home driving. So I went and listened to the audio after watching some of the videos, the post-race videos. And so before the last green flag restart, on Blaney's radio, Josh says, "Hey, just so you know, Chase says slingshot engaged."
Okay. So
Blaney's like, "Okay, let's roll." Right. So I go to listen to the 14 audio, and after the race, he's like, "Did Blaney get into the 20 or somebody there? What? He just stopped." And Joey Campbell loved the kid to death who spots for 14. He's like, "No, that was 100% on you. I think it was too much slingshot." And radio silence. Like Chase didn't say a word after that. He was trying to say, obviously that he felt like he just stopped in front of him and it wasn't his fault. And Joey's like, no, that's not the case.
Because you have a feel for we visually where we're standing. When somebody gets into the corner deeper than what they have been. So you can see when the slingshot's a little overdone most of the time.
Yeah, and there's a really fine line. All night long, if you're watching that race last night, you could see patches. Like when the race starts, the track is pretty much red clay across the racetrack. And then as we run, it gets darker and darker and darker.
Pretty quick, too.
And you can see, but there's spots on the racetrack where you can see a little bit of moisture or, like that rut in 3 and 4 had moisture around it. At the end there, it was basically like very top or very bottom. So you had the lower you could run, there was a little bit of moisture down there, but you also put yourself at risk of hitting them turtles. And I think he just tried to really hook the bottom of 1 and 2 and just clip that turtle or whatever you want to call that and launch them out into
But
him.
I mean that I don't see a problem with trying. I mean,
no,
you can't blame a guy for trying to get all he can. I mean, maybe it was a little aggressive, but you know what? At Coda, we get spun out by Blaney because he overdid a corner. So they all do it.
Listen,
it just happens.
It's
man.
win at all costs. If Kyle Busch doesn't win that race last year when Briscoe and Reddick wreck each other, he doesn't get in the playoffs. So, you've got to take that chance. If he can kind of shove Ryan up, even if you
never
just
know
move him
what's
up the race.
happen.
If you move him up the racetrack in the Bell and open the bottom lane up for yourself, now you've got a shot to win the race and get yourself in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you can't just all right. You know what, Ryan, you go ahead and get this one.
But it's hard to be mad at Chase though if you've been in that situation, you wreck somebody because everyone's in it. I mean, all you can do is apologize and move on. I
thought it was funny. He said, "I expect payback." Well, he doesn't know you can't do that anymore. Like you can't pay back people.
Well, you can. You just can't say
Well,
it.
I mean,
But Chase does need to not drive at an 11 out of 10. You know, if he runs at a 9 out of 10, he probably finishes top 4 in that race.
less slingshot.
Yeah.
Less slingshot.
Poor Denny, he can't catch a break for some damn reason. NASCAR hates. If his name was Jimmy Johnson or even Chase, maybe NASCAR let him win a race. But he ain't sucking their or kissing their ass like old Mr. H or Chad could now. Better start stacking pennies for poor Denny. Poor Denny.
Was that the return of Jeb? Do we know? Yeah, that sounded like Jeb. Hey, welcome back, Jeb. We've missed you.
With a bang.
Yeah, come back right. I mean, firing on all cylinders. That was a good one. He's not totally inaccurate, maybe, but yeah.
Lambert, what do you think about that one?
Yes. Yeah. That's about all I got for that.
Oh boy.
Well, keep the songs coming. That was a good one. To leave an audio message 24/7, just head to anchor.fm/doorbumperclear. Click the message icon, and we will keep picking the best ones. It is time for Ask DBC. Don't forget to send in your questions on Twitter each week. Use hashtag AskDBC. We will answer the best ones. Tons of opportunities to ask questions. I saw some good ones yesterday. This first one is from Bo. Ask DBC. Do you believe if Labonte... What?
I didn't know Reddick. Tyler's son had a phone. I mean,
Spelled his name wrong.
Do you believe if the Labonte Earnhardt rattle his cage scenario at Bristol happened today, that it would result in penalties?
So one thing I took that was interesting from the Denny podcast, talking about the appeal process. It was last Friday, I think, after his appeal. He basically said that, I don't know if it was NASCAR or somebody said that, like, heat of the moment, when you get out of the car, if you said that I did something wrong, that's okay. But because you had a day to think about it and then went on your podcast and said it, now you're in the wrong. But I don't know. You want these guys to be as honest as possible. Dale, on that night I didn't mean to wreck him, I just meant to rattle his cage. Well, that's Dale. Listen, Dale meant to wreck him. Dale was meant to knock him out of the way to win the race. He wasn't trying to rattle his cage. But, so he's playing that politic game back then even. But, it's just I hate the fact, like we saw it last night with Ryan, like these guys can't be honest anymore, and that's the worst possible scenario for our sport.
Yeah, we had you knew when Tony Stewart got mad and you put a mic in his face, and these guys you're kind of taking away their personalities a little bit and who they really are and what they want to say.
It's hard enough to get them to show any personality to begin with, and now you've got guys.
Yeah, now
I think Danny referenced Byron. Byron's been on this podcast before, but he made a comment to Rod. They share, an agent manager, and he said he's not doing any podcasts for a while because he's afraid. You don't know what you say might get you in trouble.
This next one is from Olive. Have you,
Lambert? I think this one's for you, bro.
Have you ever misplaced your car keys, Lambert?
Man, that's the first time I've seen you have one of them long.
Yeah,
key fobs.
I'm a lanyard guy now. So,
so how did that happen? I've recently contemplated putting the rental car keys on a lanyard because Herm does it, and I'm like, you know what? What? Maybe I should be doing that.
Herm's overkill on everything.
I know.
You hadn't noticed
that. Yeah. I'm gonna just start having Herm make my schedule because he has it laid out to the minute on when he needs to leave the hotel and all this stuff by, and it's laid out perfectly.
Yeah, so it wasn't my rental keys; it was my personal keys.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So I call it my airport car, right? So it's an 06 Altima that I've had forever that I just drive it back and forth to the airport to sit there 3 or 4 days a week. And in 17, Chris Osborne, Crazy, and I were at Homestead for the final race, and we had all of our stuff stolen out of our rental cars, like spotting stuff, all of my luggage, everything. So I went and had just a key made, and no key fob, no key, just a key, one key. So I get out at the airport. I lock my doors with the lock on the door. I put them in my book bag in the same place every time. And it was raining this morning for Vegas. It was Vegas. Mm-hmm. That morning when we got there, it was raining. I guess I didn't put them in my spot in my book bag where I always do. Go throughout the weekend, get home, we land, and no keys. Can't find them anywhere. So had to catch a ride from Stevie Reeves, took me home.
I'm glad I wasn't there that night.
Yeah.
I left her.
He had already left. Drew Herring was actually going to do it. And I'm like, Drew, I can walk home before you drive to your house. Just go on. I'll be fine. So anyway, next day, go to Nissan, get a key. Can't find them in the car anywhere. Had to have it towed. Had to have it programmed. So $300 later, I have keys. The following week, we leave for Phoenix, and I have readers that I watch on movies on my iPad or something with, or if I'm reading, and I go to get my readers out, and guess where my keys were? In my reader case. So I guess I got on the plane, realized they were in my pocket, put them in my reader case, and dumb me forgot where they were. So
we stop at we were going, I guess next would have been Phoenix or California or somewhere. We stop, and I didn't know this whole thing happened, and we stop at Tulsa. They give us lunch and stuff, so we're sitting there eating, and he's like, "Did I tell you about last week? I couldn't find my keys forever, whatever." Then he gets on the plane, he's like, "Oh shit." He's like, "Here they are, right here."
Found them.
I should get another set.
I got spares now.
Yeah,
here's the thing: when they programmed this one, my old key that I do have
quit working. Oh, even
so,
kind of. That's.
I can't believe somebody asked that. I mean, how would they know?
I mean, that's yeah.
Olive.
Yes.
What a name!
Sounds like a stage name or something.
So
there are so many questions I could ask here. Oh, on
you guys go to Millbridge?
Hey, Millbridge this weekend or this week. Let's move on to what an idiot, Freddie. Who you got?
So I had my what an idiot picked out, and then we got here to this morning, and me and Casey are walking in the building, and TJ.
This is nothing.
I got here first.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot.
I didn't do anything but type the code in.
So TJ's at the gate. This is before you got here. TJ's parked at the gate. So then I see him reach out. We have a little gate code thing. So TJ's punching numbers in. The gate opens. TJ rolls in and then stops and says, "What the hell's the gate code?" And I said, "What the hell did you just type in the keypad?"
But there was, in defense here, I typed the gate code in and nothing happened. And it was like,
well, something happened. You got
You obviously got in.
You thought somebody was remote controlling
because it was so late. Like I hit it and it was like I even typed it in.
Cold out.
I tried a different number because I'm like, did I type the wrong? I tried the last digit I changed, and I'm like, did I hit the wrong button? And then it even delayed after that, and then it just opened up. So I thought somebody here was hitting a button or something.
Luckily for you, there's somebody that was stupider than you this week. I think. What an idiot.
Well, you already called him out. So.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. We can cut that if you need to. My what an idiot is the guy that decided he was going to spend the last 2 days of his life flipping Joey Logano off. Did you see this idiot in the grandstands? Somebody told me his name. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
TJ was probably there was two guys. It was TJ on the roof and this guy in the grandstands, but nobody saw TJ doing it, so we'll just call this guy out.
Well, he had a short night yesterday.
He must have had a long night on Saturday though, because the guy dominated the whole race and he just flipped him off for the entirety of the race. Like, what are you doing? I get it. You don't like the guy, but I mean, you look like an idiot if you're just sitting there lap after lap, flipping the guy off in different directions. Like, I don't get it.
As he's leading every lap.
As he's leading the whole entire race and wins.
Why are you looking at this guy and not your truck?
Yeah, like, who are you cheering for? I mean, why would you not have a favorite versus somebody like why are you expending so much energy?
Maybe
on
Joey's
hate?
his favorite and he's telling him you're number one.
I don't think
every
that's
time
it.
by.
I don't think that's it.
Maybe.
Lambert,
Maybe
who's your idiot for the week?
Well, I didn't have one till I woke up this morning, so it's me. Hi. So obviously last night there's dust flying everywhere. It's rough. Obviously my guy can't see, TJ's guy can't see. We run into everything on the racetrack.
We didn't hit a lot. We just spun out a lot.
Yeah, we hit and ran, spun out. But so Sundays at home is my wife's day to clean the house, and she does our sheets on our bed every Sunday. And so I get home last night at 2:15 after sitting on the plane forever. Didn't think about it. I just changed, jumped into bed, and woke up this morning with orange all over the pillowcase that she had just washed. And her first words were, "You better be glad you're leaving, because if not, it was not going to be pretty." So, yeah, I created more work.
Well, yeah, that's at least she's got something to do today. I mean,
Here we go.
I'm going to send her.
Well,
I'm gonna send her to
And
your
here's
house.
my one idiot, TJ.
wow, she could also work on her.
TJ,
Well,
There's that side hustle.
yeah.
Get a manicure,
you got an
pedicure.
idiot. You got an idiot, stupid.
Myself right now. Man, I love watching the track packer guys, because once every year one of them ends up sliding down the track at some point, and didn't one get pretty close to hitting the wall?
I didn't see anything this year.
Yeah, you about hit the end of pit wall.
Yeah, you about hit the end of pit wall.
I think I was in the back of the suite for this because I heard the whole suite erupt like somebody just won the
because
Masters.
he was getting ready to KO the end of pit wall, kind of like Raja was getting ready to do that one time when he got in 4.
Yeah.
I actually thought Raja was going to hit it, but he did a good job of getting it collected. But yeah, some of these track packer guys are exciting to watch, but I can't really say they're idiots because they didn't really hit anything, but it just got really close.
so no idiot.
No idiot. Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, everyone, I don't think there was anything that stood out on track this week. I mean, there was just the normal Bristol Dirt stuff. There wasn't any crazy, something crazy on the track.
Really, really exciting stuff. Good work.
Yeah, riveting. All right, let's move on to DBC picks.
Riveting.
Did we get a pick from Brett or no?
Yes.
We can just give Brett our one
And actually,
Brett picked Logano.
he
goes last. So.
Yeah, he goes last.
Somebody
anyways.
pick Logano.
No, he can't pick Logano.
Oh.
He finally won with Christopher Bell. We are picking for Martinsville this weekend. And TJ, you go first.
Can't believe I had Stanhouse with 4th and lost.
Man. Martinsville. Davenport did not do me any favors. That was a swing and a miss there. But it was worth it.
Basically saved a pick.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I'll go with the guy that named the place after now is Martin Truex Jr.
KC.
I will go with, wait. Chase isn't back this week, right? No. Josh Berry.
He might be.
He's probably not.
I hope he is.
He could
because
be.
then you're screwed.
Yep.
You don't just get that car either. It's the driver.
No changing.
No. Josh Berry.
I will take Bubba Wallace.
And who did Brett pick? Logano.
Brett picks Denny Hamlin.
Oh, interesting. Lambert, who would you pick?
Don't be TJ.
No.
I mean, you're struggling already. Well, I want to know what happens if, say, for some instance, Chase does come back. I need to know what happens to this pick.
Casey's
I
out.
will
She
tweet
gets-
out my new
She
pick.
gets Josh Berry. She picked Josh Berry.
No.
So, no,
Or
you don't.
Casey,
no,
do you
no,
pick
no.
the 9 car? No?
No, you don't just get to pick the car. You no.
Yeah,
What?
no, that's
She
true.
picked Josh Berry.
I picked Josh.
And if Josh doesn't win the race,
I'm saying he's
if
not
Josh
coming
doesn't
back.
race, she's basically out.
I'm saying he's not coming back because I don't
Yeah,
see how he
okay.
would possibly come
I
back
just wanna
for
make sure.
Martinsville when he would want to wait for a track that's not as.
Like next week, Talladega.
Yeah, I'm thinking he starts back Talladega, just starts and then somebody replace.
I think I would just come back.
That's
after
my guess.
Talladega.
I think I just skipped Talladega too.
Freddie, you picked yourself.
I
That
didn't- I
confidence.
picked
Jinx.
my driver. I've won with Bubba at DBC Picks with Bubba before, so we finally got a clean race under our belt. Last year when we did this, we kind of went on a little run, so hopefully we continue to do that.
I like it.
You're gonna be home by halfway.
Well, it's
You
not a
still
bad.
have the guy that I would have picked. Just so you know.
Who is that?
Willie B.
Willie B.
Yeah, he's on a roll.
I'm kind of saving him.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't-
saving him.
I don't
too.
want to. I don't want to. I'm waiting on a penalty for him.
You know he's going to hit a patch where he's not hot though,
Yeah.
right? So
well, I'm just worried if I got to be careful because last year I picked Denny and he got disqualified. So I'm worried if I pick. Well, I'm going to wait for this heat to die down on Hendrick a little bit before I pick any Hendrick cars.
That's true.
All right, well, heading to Martinsville, what can we expect as we watch from home?
Hopefully, good racing. You know, the Martinsville packet with this new car was pretty bad last year. Not going to pull any punches there. The new package, and one thing I hated about last week, I felt like last week was dominated by Denny's appeal, Kaulig's appeal, and we never really talked about how great that Richmond race was. That was a really good Richmond race.
I thought Richmond was good.
You know, for what we've had in the past there, like, you know, during the week, the stories were not about, you know, great job by all these guys. Larson comes back from a pit road deal to win and all the stuff about Richmond. Everything was just about, you know, penalties from Richmond or appeals from before Richmond. So I hated that, but I thought Richmond was a really good race.
There
and
wasn't
hopefully-
one dominant car.
No.
There was, you know, Denny drove from the teens almost. He won the stage.
Yeah.
He went from at least probably 10th or 11th that stage all the way to the lead. Truex gets up there and leads. Larson led some. Larson fell back a little bit at one point. There was just a lot of moving around, and it was actually, you know, the racetrack was pretty wide. I really enjoyed watching that Richmond race. That was in the right direction. I'm hoping Martinsville
trends that way too. You know, like this package was harder for them to drive at Richmond, I feel like, and it's hopefully that lends itself again to there. The same thing we've seen, but you know, we talked about, we beat it to death on here. The shifting is an issue at Martinsville because if you make a mistake at Martinsville,
someone was shifting to the dirt track.
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
So that's another thing too. Like they're shifting at a dirt track.
Yeah. I had Chris Wyndham was texting me during the race, kind of like I rely on people like that to when they're watching the race at home to if they see something with where the track is trending or something that they might see Bubba doing wrong, like just text me. And you know, obviously Chris and I developed a pretty good friendship. So he was texting me during the race, like stuff he saw. And that was one of the things he's like, why are these idiots shifting? He's like, they're never using all this power. Like I don't understand what they're doing, especially when it's slicked off really at the end. But but like we talked about here, if you make a mistake in Martinsville now, you just drop a gear and get all your drive back up off the corner. So, you know, that's going to still suck. But hopefully the racing is a little bit better. Hopefully it's a little more racy. And this is my favorite place to go spot. It's kind of where I grew up at. I've won modified races there. Obviously me and Bubba won some truck races there. So this is one of my favorite places to go. It's a short drive. We get to kind of stay at our homes all week. So looking forward to it. Hopefully it's good, and hopefully it's better than it was last year at least.
Yeah, I do think this package it's in the right direction. So let's just hope it keeps going that way. And anytime, the harder these cars are to drive, the better show we get.
Yeah, I think it'll be way better than last year. Trucks are there, Xfinity's there, so you're going to have 3 days, 3 nights of rubber being laid down. I understand
Weather.
It's supposed to be in the
Nice.
80s.
It looked really nice.
From what I understand.
Dude, when I
Yeah.
typed in
Usually
the
we
weather,
freeze our ass off.
when I typed in the weather, I was like, did I
Yeah.
type in
the
Miami?
wrong
Did I
track?
hit
I haven't-
Homestead or something?
I haven't looked at it myself, but they were talking about it's going to be in the upper 70s
Yes,
during
it
the
was-
day, and so maybe it takes rubber, makes it definitely where you got to move around and find the clean racetrack. But hopefully it's a full weekend of great races.
70 on Friday, 40% chance of rain. 77 on Saturday, 40% chance of rain. 79 on Sunday, 40% chance of rain.
So if you're in the area, make sure you come out to Martinsville. It should be
Might
a good
have
one.
to try them rain tires out.
And don't forget, you can catch us on Dirt Vision this week. It is free to register for and gains you access to every upcoming episode of DBC, along with thousands of hours of World of Outlaws and other great dirt racing content in the Dirt Vision vault. And I can tell you how many hours I've spent watching it thanks to Chad. So
I mean, speaking of Dirt Vision, did anybody see that maneuver Sheldon Hodenshield pulled off on, I think that was Friday night? I mean,
Friday.
That
Yeah, it was
race,
Friday.
that pass that he made to win that race Friday was ridiculous. So I retweeted a clip of it, but if you need any more reason than that to go subscribe, obviously you just have to register on Dirt Vision to get our show, and it's free. But I don't know why you wouldn't sign up for their monthly or yearly package to watch them World Outlaw races, because they are phenomenal. That race alone right there would have sold me on whatever it costs to watch that stuff for the year. So these guys race, I mean, I don't even know what their schedule is, 70, 80 times a year, just the
Yeah, it's
Outlaw
like 80
sprint
some
cars.
races, yeah.
Then you've got all the Outlaw late models and stuff. So there's plenty of stuff. There's weekly stuff with Millbridge. There's plenty of stuff on there, but just go watch that video and tell me that doesn't sell you on at least getting a subscription for a month and checking it out. But I mean, it's phenomenal action on there.
absolutely.
He's like his father.
Oh God. Somebody said it was like his
And-
dad's birthday or something
Yep.
like that.
And just a reminder, the Dirt Vision DBC listeners get 50% off their first month of Fast Pass using code DBC23, and that's where you get to watch World of Outlaw races, just like the one you just mentioned. And of course, top tracks like Millbridge and Knoxville, Williams Grove. You know, I just had to throw in the Millbridge there, right, TJ?
If you do watch Millbridge, just look closely in the background. You'll see Casey running around somewhere. Chasing Chloe or
Yep.
Chad, one or the other. So.
Of course, you can catch us also on YouTube and wherever you get your favorite podcast. Don't forget to share, like, comment. You know the drill. Thank you, Lambert, for filling in for our part-timer, Brett. Hopefully he is missing us dearly.
Where is Brett? Where's he at?
He was in Myrtle Beach. I hope it was freezing the whole time.
Oh,
he was
yeah.
here.
Well,
was
he
cold.
couldn't make it back for the show. I mean,
Nope.
Listen, he tweeted out, I haven't decided if I'm coming or not yet, so I guess he decided he
you,
wasn't
like,
coming.
so it's just a choice every
I don't know. I
Yep.
guess he was hoping somebody was going to beg him to show up, and none of us did. So
I'm not going to be begging him. So, Brett, hopefully we see you next week.
maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I mean, Martinsville is a long, narrow pit road. I mean,
And on that note, have a great week, guys.
Word.
see ya.